All right. Good morning, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Cricketing Shenanigans. We have a very special guest today who's going to join us on our podcast. So please welcome sports writer, journalist, author par excellence, and now an extremely competent actor, huge cricket enthusiast, illustrious son of an illustrious father. Please welcome Jamie Alter. Jamie, please turn on your camera.
Hi, guys.
Jamie.
Thank you
That's
so
it.
much, Jamie. Really appreciate you, taking time out. I know you are super busy. You have so many things you do on a daily basis. So I really appreciate you joining us.
No,
Jamie,
Abhishek, my pleasure. My pleasure.
so I want to be very respectful of your time, Jamie. So how much time do you have? So we'll definitely try to keep it within
Half
that.
an hour, 40 minutes.
Okay, perfect. So we'll
Yeah.
we'll stick to that. And Jamie, you know how all cricket fans are, right? Once we start talking, we lose track of
Oh,
time.
I
So
know.
just let
I
us
know.
know
I
when
know.
you are ready to go.
No worries.
Perfect. So, Jamie, I'll quickly introduce two of my friends. So, we do this cricket podcast. We have a movies podcast also. And I don't know if you had
Super.
a chance. Anirban was on in one of our
I
cricket
saw a
shows.
little bit of it. He's a good friend of mine, as you know.
Yeah,
So,
I know. Of course, we know the background. So, I have Jwalin and Somu. So, these are again the regulars on my cricket and the
hi
music
guys.
podcast.
Hi.
So again, really appreciate it. So just a couple of things I want to just talk about, Jamie. So I've been following your content for a while now, and what absolutely draws me to your content is the absolute passion you have for the game, and of course your personality kind of comes through very clearly. And
Thank you.
of course I don't know you personally, but if somebody asks me to describe you, the first thing that comes to mind is a thorough gentleman and an one of the nicest people I've seen on on shows or on channel that I've seen you on. So I just wanted to make sure I convey that to you.
Thank you, and that's extremely sweet of you. Very humble. I don't get to hear that very often. So, thank you. I think we should talk more often.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you want to talk, we love talking about cricket, so we'll be on. And
Superb.
I follow all your channels, but your cricket fables is of course my favorite. And the interview I enjoyed the most was Rohan Gavaskar. I mean that was a lot of fun.
That was fun for us too. Yeah.
Okay. So before we get in, Jamie, I want my viewers to know a little bit about you. So can we just talk about your initial journey into cricket? How did you get into cricket to start with?
Sure. As you can imagine, growing up in the household of a man who was not just cricket, my father was a sports nut, and I
Absolutely.
think
Yeah.
he was one of these people who, like I was telling another person on a podcast recently, he could probably tell you the offensive lineback of the Green Bay Packers from 1967,
Wow.
as well as how much Mickey Mantle hit in 1950 something to how much Sunil Gavaskar averaged for Bombay University. All the guy was just a sports nut. So it was sort of inevitable that being around him a lot and hearing his stories, hearing his scrapbooks, seeing the books, the VHS tapes he had of Graham Gooch's innings and various things. So sports was very much a part of my growing up. I probably was into American sports a little bit before I got into cricket.
Uh-huh.
Also because I was studying at the American School of Bombay, which my mother's co-founded in 1981. So
Uh-huh.
the sporting awareness and awakening for me was, to be very honest, more of the American sports. But once cricket hit, nothing else even compared. So like everything else went out the window. Probably baseball is a distant second for me now. But once cricket hit, there was just nothing like it. Test cricket, and I mean, you guys are all cricket nuts, so I don't need to preach to you. Then it was when I left home to go to boarding school or go back to boarding school in 1995, and then when the 1996 World Cup was on,
Mhm.
it was a very new experience to be watching this game, which I love, with 100 guys who are my age, and that was a very different feeling than from watching it with my father either at home or at
Sure,
the
sure.
Wankhede, at the Brabourne. So then something else, I'm like, "Yeah, game is even cooler when you're not watching with your dad. So then there was then I was like book cricket and making up scorecards, and not just the scorecards, following up those scorecards with like imaginary match reports of like India versus Australia at Rajkot in '96. The match never happened, but I have this 450-word match report which reads like something which you would see in in the Hindu or TOI or whatever. So that was a different kind of pagalpanti. Then I started playing it. I was not very good, but that doesn't stop you from writing and blogging on the game. Then of course the internet came, and then blogging started, and then I joined Cricket Info in 2005, and 15 and a half years later, here I am talking to you guys about cricket. So in a nutshell, that is my journey with cricket. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. And I identify with that so much because I did the exact same thing. I have scrapbooks all the way back to, it goes back to 1993 when England toured India. The famous the 3-0 victory that India had, and India was going through a tough time after the Australia series. So I completely identify with that. And cricket has been part of my household. My dad, my dad was in the army. He retired as a general from the Indian Army, but he was essentially a soccer player. So he played football for India back in the days. So, sports runs in my family, and cricket, of course. Somehow I played soccer, I played cricket. I played under 15 Bengal cricket when I was 11 years old.
Wow.
So, cricket has always been in the family, and this is something. So I moved to the US in 2002. So I'm in Miami. So Somu lives in Atlanta, and Jwalin is in Mumbai. So I moved in 2002. I thought I will lose touch with cricket, but never say die attitude regarding cricket.
It's not possible.
Yeah. So that's awesome. So now I want to talk a little bit about the other aspect of your life now, right? Acting. So how did acting happen to you? And
Anirban Das Gupta.
Share your experience.
Anirban Das Gupta happened to me. No, look, I had been approached many times, as you can imagine, down the years. In fact, it was in 94 or something. I'd done literally 2 scenes in one of those Doordarshan shows where they needed a kid to play my father in a flashback. And in 1994, where are you going to find another white kid who looks like Tom Alter and who speaks Hindi? So that was like the first time that I would have done something, but it was never. No. This was a show called Samrajya, which I don't think it even completed the standard 13 episode run because the ratings were very very poor. But I'm going to take a few seconds more. Having brought the same issue up during the lockdown on another podcast, the director of that show, an actress by the name of Archana Joglekar, who left the industry and moved somewhere to the US, someone brought this to her attention. So she DM'd me on Instagram saying,
wow,
how do you even remember that show? I'm like, well, ma'am, I was part of it and you chose me. So small roundabout story. So there were things like this. They would happen down the years when I was in school. Then when I'd come back from the US for college breaks, every 2 years in the summer or winter. But I just never felt like I was made for this line or I was cut out. Then as it happened in 2007, another similar role. My father was doing a film in the Andaman Islands called Ocean of an Old Man. Mm-hmm. And there were literally 4 to 5 scenes where they needed him to be shown in his 20s in a flashback. So, Andaman Islands, lovely beaches. I said, I'm getting paid to go there for 4 days. That was fine. The film got made and I'm not in any of the scenes. So I'm like, how bad was I? Maybe, I'm just not made. So a few such things happen. I would, every few years, I do a couple scenes, but the movies they wouldn't get made or my scenes weren't there. So I'm like, the writing's on the wall, dude, just stick to cricket. This is not for you. But then as life would have it, Anirban was looking for someone to play the character of Dr. Goldfish in Afsos, who looks like a certain person, but actually something else. So I was a perfect fit. I was sitting, like I've said many times on other shows, I was sitting in this very chair in late 2018 when he DM'd me on Twitter saying, hey, this is Anirban. And I'd just gone to one of his shows like 6 months before. So I was like, hang on, this stand-up comedian is DMing me saying he wants to cast me. Like, okay, what's the joke? Like, who's paid him to do this, right? But he said, no, we have this script. And believe me, the 3 of us, me and Dibbo and Saurabh, we really want you. So can you audition? I was like, yeah, okay, let's see where this goes, right? So I auditioned and I got the part, and I spoke to the director, and I flew down to Bombay, or Mumbai as people call it. I still can't say that regularly. I say Bombay still. I flew down. They did the look test, and it was great. The company I was working for at the time was Z, and it was in my contract that I could not do any kind of work. Forget the acting, any kind of broadcast work with a rival company. Now Z has Z5, Amazon has Amazon Prime, so I couldn't even let my boss know that I was flying down for 5 days work. I said, नहीं वो मेरा एक दोस्त है, वो छोटा सा आर्ट फिल्म बना रहा है, वो 2 दिन का काम है. बोला हाँ जा. So I shot for 5 days for this huge Amazon show. Then when Afsos came out, I'd already left Z, so there was no conflict there. So literally I did one show, and then obviously it came out. The feedback thankfully was very good.
Yeah.
And that's led to a lot of other offers. Of course, lockdown has put them all on the back seat. But I just shot for another web series. I shot for a movie in November. Day after tomorrow, I'm flying down to Mumbai for another movie. So long story short, had never planned on this, Abhishek, but life has a way of throwing you curveballs, and you say, yeah, let's see if we can hit them out of the park. So who knows how long I'll be doing this part of my career. So, but it's fun.
Yeah, let me tell you, loved your part in Afsos, and I'm glad that great things are happening to you. That's what they say, like, great things happen to nice people. So, good luck with
thank you
that side of your career as well. Jolin, Somu, any questions for Jamie before we dig into our cricket discussion?
I have one. So I think I've been looking your bio on the internet, correct? And one of the things that caught my attention is your nickname. I think Jammu Bhai is what I got. Is that right?
That was given to me in my first week of college in the Midwest, by a Pakistani roommate. He's like, "Acha, kya naam hai? Jamie. I think you're a Jammu," and that became Jammu Bhai. So that was there for the longest time. Of course, as you move on to different environments and different works, they change. But that was the longest one, and I had a Hotmail account called jammubhai@hotmail.com. So somehow that one is stuck for the last 20 odd years. Yeah.
Okay, so that was not the fake I think link I saw. Okay, good to know.
Hey, Jamie, another just a comment. So the chemistry you share with Meha is extremely cute and lovable, and there's so easy. There's certain amount of ease that you guys share. It's very pleasant to watch. So please convey our best to Meha as well. We of course, honestly, we didn't know that you guys were married, because we had seen her on TV before,
right.
and we discovered it through your content. But it's a real pleasure watching the two of you on your.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
Love it.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. So without further ado, let's kind of get into what we are here for. So Jamie, your initial thoughts on what you have seen so far on the India-England series, and let's talk a little bit about the pitches, because of course that's been a huge bone of contention, right? The pitches that we have prepared for the test matches, and in general, what do you think about pitches? Because back in the 90s, if you recall, most of the home teams would win at home. They would lose their away games because the pitches would be doctored, right? I mean, you go to Australia, Perth would be bouncing. Brisbane, would have a really bouncy pitch. Same South Africa. You go to Durban, you would get a really difficult wicket. You come to India, you would get these dust balls. So what is your opinion? I mean, does ICC need to kind of standardize pitches so that at least they last the 5 days? Because honestly, I mean, of course, we are Indian supporters. We love that India won. But if you have to be honest, I mean, the pitch was definitely substandard. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, look, I mean, exactly like you said, the 90s, I think India, they lost 2 test matches their whole decade at home, if I'm not mistaken. You had teams where and 1-2
94
West Indies, and then 1-2 Australia in 98 when India still won the series, but they lost that Bangalore. I think those are the only 2. And again, like you said, that's been the case in Australia. That's been the case in New Zealand. I mean, you remember that 2002 tour to New Zealand? You'd wake up one day, Sehwag's batting, the next day Sehwag's batting, but in the middle, the teams have been bowled out, twice. Yeah. So that's always been there, and I think, and I'm totally for that. I think what we saw with the first test in Chennai was that there'd been a gap of first-class cricket in India. You had seen a new curator. I mean, traditionally, even if you just take the last 10 to 15 years, the Chennai track, the first 2 days are normally good for batting. We've seen that in 2016 when England came. We saw it in 2013 when Australia came. We've seen back-to-back Ranji finals played there, where high-scoring draws. But traditionally, the moving days have been day 3 and 4, which in essence also happened in the first test. But the difference was, by the time day 3 began, England had batted and batted and batted, and there was just nothing going on. So more than the second match, I think that pitch was problematic, because when there's nothing going on, and I've heard, India had Ishant Sharma coming back after a break and so on. So that doesn't matter. England showed you how wickets could be taken on that wicket. So I think by the first 2 days were just not a good contest. I frankly am all for matches getting over in 4 days, because what you see in those 4 days you see more excitement. I've always said, that a good test match, no team should score more than 375 in any innings, because that gives you the most balanced match going across 5 days. Yes, we like to see Karun Nair get 300 and Sehwag, but the chances of a match then getting complete or being even, it's drastically diminished. So I don't like matches where teams score 550 and 600. Yes, it's great to boost your averages, but how many of those games have been competitive? Sticking to India and your question, Abhishek, even in these matches where 2016 Chennai, England score 470 odd, India reply with 650 odd, and then on the last day, Rank Turner, it's good for India, but I think the issue is you need pitches which stay even all throughout. And frankly, this pitch to me was not a poor track. Poor was Johannesburg 2018. Poor was Nagpur 2015. Poor was the Kotla 15. These were poor tracks where it was up and down. This was consistent all throughout. Yes, you can argue that there should be no puffs of dust in the 9th over of a match. I get that. So it was it substandard? I don't think so, because it stayed even. And on that pitch, this is of course test cricket, teams need to know what to do. India fell back on their basic strengths. They outbatted and they outbowled England on that track. It is an art, Abhishek, to know how to bowl on tracks where the ball is spinning sharply. It's not that straightforward. Ball dal diya, you have to know. And Jadeja and Ashwin have showed this repeatedly. Here, no Jaddu, but Ashwin steps up, Akshar steps up and bowls brilliantly. And I was frankly surprised that England dropped Dom Bess. I think Dom Bess would have also gotten a lot of wickets on that track.
That was a big surprise, right? Dom Bess being dropped. I mean, he got 4 in the first innings in the first test.
Four match shifting wickets. I know England batted for like a week to get 580 odd, but India could have been replied with 650 as well, right? Dom Bess getting those wickets was really match shifting and on par with how Anderson bowled on the 5th day. But then one poor innings and you drop it. I mean, yes, England have had some bizarre rotation policies, but this was a guy who played, let's not forget, 9 consecutive test matches for England, home and away. And one bad innings where he goes for 4.5 and he's dropped. Bizarre, man. Bizarre.
No, I agree. And I would completely agree with what you said, right? At least in the second test match, it spun from day 1. So, both teams had a even chance. The problem with the first test match was, I mean, England got a big advantage winning the toss. And, they occupied the crease for almost 2 days. And then it left, gave India very little chance of coming back. That's why in the olden, I used to really love this. People talk about Adelaide and Hobart, but I used to really love the Sydney pitch, because Sydney first couple of days, you would have, it would be good batting track. The Pacers would get bounced, and then Shane Warne would come towards the back end where the pitch would start to spin. So I really used to love the Sydney Test matches in the past, and that for me is a good Test wicket where everybody has an even chance. The batsmen, if they hang on, they can get value for money for the shots, and you have pace in the pace gets help in the initial part, and then spin has a role to play. So again, that's my take on that. Somu and Jwalin, do you guys want to add anything?
I probably would go ahead and add, I'm okay with the rank turners that India is, I think, right now preparing. Even last tour of Australia, Pune, that we lost first test match, correct? So I'm okay with that kind of pitches, but I guess our Indian international player also should play a couple of practice games on such pitches before we get into that match. I think the very reason we lost first match because we did not have enough practice on that kind of pitch, because we came from Australia, we did not have that kind of practice done, correct? Whereas Sri Lanka on the other side had two test matches in Sri Lanka on the rank turner, so they had that net practice, match practice, and then they were prepared, and we were not. And that was the whole point. Probably if India would have practiced, I think the match would have been draw, and we are 1-0 up. But that's the past. Let's focus on next two matches. But that's my point of view. If you have rank turners or the pitches which are slow and turning from the day one, or not doing for a couple of days and then start turning, let's do a practice matches for our team as well, and not just the visiting team.
Sure. Somu, anything to add?
Nothing from my side.
Okay.
Please go on.
Great. So one thing I want to talk about today on the podcast, and I don't know what you guys think. I mean, somehow our Indian batsmen, our batsmen did really well, in Australia. When I said batsmen, especially the middle and the lower order, but somehow we tend to struggle against spin now. Because, back in the days of, Azharuddin, Lakshman, Sachin, Dravid, Ganguly, we rarely, other than that one Sri Lanka series, the series, Jamie, where you met your wife for the first time, that series, other than that, India, at least that generation played spin really well, be it, Shane Warne or Muralidharan. But this current lot, and part of the problem I see is, most of the Indian batsmen now, they seem to lack the ability to rotate strike and play with soft hands, because back in the days the other batsmen I mentioned were really adept against spin. Somehow this team tends to struggle against spin. So what's your take on that, Jamie?
Two factors. One, they're not playing enough quality spinners. They're not enough quality spinners in India right anymore. It's like the great West Indies pace bowling attack of the 70s and 80s. Yes, touring teams would come in and they'd face, Holding, Garner, Marshall, Roberts, whoever it is. But then they'd go in between these matches to go play those, 2-3 tour matches. And the island guys would have bowlers who were as good, but because they had so many, there were 4 guys who couldn't get in. Same thing here. I mean, like we're talking about the 90s. Yes, there was Kumble. But even guys like Rajesh Chauhan, Venkatapati Raju, whoever filled in, they were getting wickets. Now, the players you mentioned, these greats, the Fab Four plus, Gautam Gambhir and Sehwag also coming in. I think after Sachin, if on par was Gautam Gambhir, the guy played spin brilliantly. Right. Sachin swept, Dravid swept, Gambhir swept, Sehwag didn't sweep, and he didn't have a very good pull shot, but the guy was a maverick. He found a way to counter these things. These guys, no one sweeps. We saw Ashwin say during the second test match that I took the sweep shot out of my career at 19 because I was afraid of being dropped, right? Yeah. What does that say? Virat Kohli doesn't sweep. Virat Kohli sees it as a shot. That's his game. His success as a test batsman is largely because of he's reduced the risky shots, which is why you see Rohit Sharma has about twice as many sixes. That's his game. But even Rohit doesn't sweep. So when Rohit starts to sweep on day one of the second test to take the pitch out of the equation, it says that the man has done his hard work, but you're not going to see it very often. So I think it's a combination of these factors. And I agree with what you said, because we've seen like bowlers like Brad Hogg, who've not played many test matches. We've seen him in a test match give Yuvraj Singh problem. We've seen Brad Hogg in one day literally make a buffoon out of Raina and Yuvraj, with his varieties. And this is 2006 in Singapore. I'm like, hang on, Yuvraj Singh and Raina cannot pick Brad Hogg. What's happening? So this is a problem we've seen. And we've seen bowlers like Dilrawan Pereira, Rangana Herat. I mean, taking nothing away from Herat, because the Indian team is just not playing spin that well. There have been many spinners. Jason Krejza came and took a lot of wickets, gave a lot of runs. But there has been this trend where on days when it's not India's day, bowlers can really run through. So I just think it's because they're not playing the sweep shot as much, and domestically they're coming through the ranks not playing enough quality spinners.
Yeah, excellent point. And the other thing the other problem I see a little bit on the spin front is even our first 11 team that we have, they barely play any domestic matches, right? I mean, they, back in the days, at least for the premier games, most of our top stars would make themselves available. But now with the current cricket calendar, I guess these guys have no time to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. So pink ball, right? Ahmedabad. What do you think is going to be India's team, and is there going to be a change in strategy?
Definitely Jasprit Bumrah will come back, because like England rested Anderson, the idea behind resting Bumrah, we can argue about what happened, but that's in the past now. He was clearly rested, keeping in mind this pink ball match. Mm-hmm. Only the second pink ball match to be played in India, test match. The first one against Bangladesh was, chalo, it's Eden Gardens.
Afghanistan, right? The last one?
Bangladesh. Just after Diwali 2 years ago, they played at Eden Gardens. Yes, very different track, but that match was over in 3 days.
3 days.
Not a single wicket fell to India's spinners in that match. Nothing for Jadeja, nothing for Ashwin. All the Bangladeshi wickets fell to pace. So that to me says that you're not going to see Kuldeep Yadav in this match. He's going to go out, and the Bumrah comes back. Ishant Sharma, Mohammad Siraj,
possibly, right? And
Jasprit Bumrah. I don't think they'll slot back Umesh Yadav, because this is day-night matches. Pink ball is not really Umesh Yadav's game, let's say. Yeah, he's more likely to play on a Rajkot or a Hyderabad kind of wicket. You should probably see Ishant Sharma, Siraj, and Jasprit Bumrah. Baki, beyond that, I don't see any changes to the team.
Yeah. That's exactly what I have here as well. That's what I was going to say. I think it's possibly going to be a three-pronged pace attack with two spinners. Jolin, Somu, anything?
Yeah, if possible, I would play Hardik Pandya as well, if he can bowl few overs instead of one more spinner, because I think this pitch also will have something for the seamer. Correct. I would rather have Hardik playing than one of the spinner.
I mean that's an interesting way of looking at it, right? But again, considering how India has selected their side. Go ahead, Jamie.
So that would be you drop Akshar and drop Kuldeep for Bumrah and Hardik Pandya.
That's right.
This is what Meha was saying also. So yeah, there is some. I get it.
I would love Hardik playing in home state, I would say.
But I think we have to consider his injury that he had as well. So I'm not sure if he's going to be the
to bowl even like 8-9 overs. I don't know. Yeah, it's. I assume the fact that he's back in the test squad, you're not going to pick him just as a batsman. I assume he's been picked as an all-rounder, but having not bowled for so long, again, I mean, even when Hardik Pandya fit, how many overs a day does he bowl? Not more than 10 anyways. So there is merit to their argument. And Ashwin on his own is good enough to take wickets. So interesting. It might be.
Yeah. Agreed. Somu, anything to add?
No, I would definitely like to see Bumrah in the next test if possible, but I'm not so sure about Hardik.
Yeah, and again, I'll and since the series is evenly balanced, I think India would possibly go with 3 pacers and 2 spinners, but we'll find out. Again, I think one person we definitely want to discuss is Rishabh Pant. I mean, how he's kind of turned his game in the last 3-4 test matches, right? And we Indian fans are extremely fickle, right? I mean, we were baying for his blood right before he started scoring those runs in Australia. But I think he brings to the table what Sehwag brought to the table back then, right?
Also his wicket keeping skills.
Right. We will come to that as well. So he's an outright match winner, right? And players like Sehwag and Rishabh Pant will frustrate on certain days, right? Because their game is very different from, say, a Pujara's, who plays percentage games. He knows, what shots he needs to curb. Sehwag and Rishabh are, they're cut from a completely different cloth. But I think, especially abroad, in more, I guess, faster pitches. And when I say faster, not necessarily bouncier pitches, but pitches which come onto the bat really well. Player like Pant can make a huge difference. And we saw what he did in Australia. And I was really impressed by the innings he played here in India, because honestly, the slow pitches I don't think suit Rishabh Pant as much. And although, in domestic cricket, he has played, in Firozshah Kotla, and he was known for hitting those big sixes. But I think he's shown some amount of application as well. It's not just been, slam bang cricket for him, and he's been very impressive. Jamie, what's your take on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And even when things were not going well for Rishabh Pant, we have to keep in mind that he didn't just, drop from a plane. The guy's ticked off all the boxes, He's got triple hundreds, and he's got, big innings, which have get him into the Indian team. And obviously, whoever keeps in the post MS Dhoni era, be it a Karthik or a Saha or Pant or Naman Wajah, whoever it is, they're always going to have that unfair comparison. But when the guy goes and becomes the only Indian test keeper with hundreds in England and Australia, imagine, no one has done that. Not Farooq Engineer, not Syed Kirmani, not MS Dhoni, anyone. There's no keeper before Rishabh Pant, this cocky little 21-year-old who goes and gets it in his second or third test match in England, and then does it at the SCG. So obviously there's something there. And even, yes, the hundreds after that, have not come. When you're scoring 26 and 28 and 32 in generally low scoring matches overseas, in eight test matches in a row, the guy got between 25 and 35. Those are fairly invaluable, but people tend to forget that. But then he goes and he gets out in the 90s 4 times. I think that's also held against him. But he's gonna do it. He's not looking at landmarks, right? And you look at what he did in that Sydney test. When he got out, yes, then they knew that, okay, now let's play for a draw. But when the guy's batting, what if he hadn't got out on 97? What if he ended up on 183 not out and India won that match? It's possible, right?
Yeah.
So he gave the belief, Yes, Pujara's there. Pujara will hold up one end, but beta main karne wala hu. So that says a lot. And that really is there in Sehwag, like you mentioned, and then in Adam Gilchrist. Nobody else to my mind can change a match in a session in the last 20 odd years. And what does Pant do? He follows up Sydney with Brisbane. You could say, chalo, it's a one-off. How good was he in Brisbane?
Yeah, and he took us to the end, right? What he couldn't do in Sydney, he did it in Brisbane.
He finished the job. No team had won at the Gabba for 33 years. And I'm very glad that word Gabatoire has now been, consigned to the bin, because, as even from before I started watching, we've heard of this Gabatoire. Let's give it a rest now, So, I mean, then he does it in India, like you said, on a different kind of track. When he was going, again, the 100 was there. And I tweeted, I said, Rishabh Pant's last 2 innings in India have been 91 and 92. And the next ball he gets out. And people are like, can you please stop tweeting? But again, we know that's what Pant is going to bring. And I am sure I had him marked out for 200 in the first test, It didn't happen, but that's what he brings. But yes, like Shomu said, his keeping has to be spoken about as well. This is substandard keeping. Yes, it's all good to put up, backflips and Spider-Man jumps in the gym, but when you're dropping catches off spin every innings, how long are you going to play the guy when his keeping is to spin? He takes some fantastic acrobatic one-handed catches to pace. We saw it in the last match. Right. He's the fastest Indian keeper to 50 test dismissals, which is a huge achievement. Yes, it also shows how good your pace bowlers have been, which is a fact. In the last 4 years, we've had the best pace quartet in Indian histories ever. We've had that. But Pant is dropping literally a catch, an innings of Ashwin. It sounds good, ash by, but when those catches, when he does a deep Das Gupta and he drops Carl Hooper at Bridgetown, and Carl Hooper gets 232 when he was dropped on 0, that happens to Pant, we're all going to be like, "Arey, isko nikalo teams." So that's going to happen. I'm glad to see that he kept much better in the second test match. That stumping when who was it? Dan Lawrence dashed out, and that was a damn tough stumping. Because like Ben Foakes, when Pant was batting, your vision is obscured. You have to move to your left to collect the ball and then stab your arm out to the right side. So let's hope as Indian cricket supporters that we see a lot more of that Pant as compared to the guy who's dropped and missed many stumpings. I'm talking about just off spin. He has a long way to go.
Right. Because of course, there's that blind spot, right, on the leg side. When it goes down the leg side, it's hard. And Ben Fowkes, I mean, he really was exemplary in the Test match, his wicket keeping. In fact, even his batting in the second innings, he really showed himself really well. Yeah, completely agree. And you talked about drawing parallels with Adam Gilchrist. Takes me back to the '99 Hobart Test match against Pakistan.
Oh, wow,
unbelievable, right?
Unbelievable. I sat there
against that bowling attack. And
that bowling attack in his second Test match or something like that, debut series. And I remember, I think Ian Healy played the first Test match, and I remember it was winter break. I was back in Bombay from boarding school in the hills, and as you do, you watch anything live that comes out of Australia. Yeah. And I remember all the articles like in Sports Star and the papers were about how this young upstart has come and taken Ian Healy's place, and obviously arguably so, but what he did, I remember watching the whole day 5 with Langer, and I'm like, man, this guy is something else. And then he played for a good 11-12 years for Australia, so let's hope Pant does that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey Jamie, I want to do a quick time check. How are we doing?
I have another 2-3 minutes because I have another call at 9. So I need to take.
Completely understand. So we'll wrap it up in a couple of minutes. So the last thing I want to talk about, your prediction for the series.
I think I had said 3-1 to India before. I didn't see a draw happening. I had given England one match, not the first match, to be very honest, but I had thought they would perhaps win the day-night Test match. Mm-hmm. Just I think their bowlers might give India a handful, but I would still say I'm still going to go for 3-1 to India.
Okay, Jolin, what's your take?
Yeah, we are on tight spot. Even I was thinking 2-1, one being draw in Chennai, but now that we are 1-1, I think it would go 2-all, and we would not be playing finals at Lords.
The final at Lords.
Oh wow.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, because
which means
Australia makes it, right?
Australia, who wow, how bad are they right now? So imagine that.
What's your prediction?
I also feel it's gonna be 2-all. This series.
So I guess all 4 of us have different predictions. So my prediction is India. I'm thinking somehow the last Test match would possibly end in a draw unless it's an absolute rank turner. The day night.
That's the thing. We don't know the pitch because this is a new pitch, right? We have no idea.
Correct.
They've only played Syed Mushtaq Ali Trophy there, nothing else, right? So who knows?
Yeah. But the new stadium looks impressive, Jamie, right? Have you seen the pictures?
Absolutely. I've seen pictures. I've covered a lot of matches at the old one there, IPL and Tests, and I was there when Dale Steyn blew India over for 77 on day 1 of a Ahmedabad Test match. So but this one looks that stadium, yes, it's big and all, but it was a pretty crap stadium, to be very honest. Very just the facilities and it's just not a good ground overall that I've been to. So hopefully one day I get to see the new one also when things are better. So
absolutely. All right, Jamie. Again, I can't thank you enough for doing this with us. In spite of your super busy schedule. Hope you enjoyed the discussion as well. And
absolutely, thank you, Abhishek. I had a good time talking to all 3 of you, and we'll be back again. Maybe cricket, maybe movies, maybe music. Who knows? Because I like all the 3 topics you mentioned before at the start. So.
Again, we love you and your content. So, we'll keep you posted. If you can join us, in the future, it'll be great.
Definitely.
So I know you were following Angad's quiz, right? Last week.
I was for a while.
For a brief.
Yes, I was there for a while. Yeah.
So I was speaking to Anirban, and I'm thinking of doing a similar quiz, sometime soon. So if you are available, I'll
sure.
If you're available, I know.
Sure.
Anirban and you would possibly have a really close contact.
That'll be fun. I was very impressed by him, to be honest.
Yeah. So
it's good.
We'll plan to do that if you are available. We'll love to have you back. And
sure.
Jamie, I have a request. I'll put up this video on YouTube on my channel. If you like if you like what we have discussed, I request you to kind of share it on your.
Absolutely, there's no second. Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Jamie.
Definitely.
Again, you have a wonderful weekend, and convey our regards to Meha as well. Tell her.
Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you.
Really, I've been following her for a while. Back from her TV days, and I'd of course, I'll try to reach out to her as well if she would like to join us for one of our podcasts. It would be
I'm sure she would.
as well.
Superb. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much, Jamie. Thank you
We
so
already
much.
have Meha actually. If someone looks at the
we
video,
did.
I think
So normally, like the last, I think this is the 5th or 6th one that I've done with Meha's account, and normally people block it out. The last one, I was on this Akash Mehta's Kuji Mehta. He said, "I'm gonna call you Meha the whole time." So for like an hour and a half, it was just, "Acha Meha, tell me the next question." So it depends what you, but yeah, you can block it out or something. Actually, I think I have a way to do it. I haven't figured out how to do it yet, so I'll figure it out. But
no worries.
But thank you guys. This was good fun, and definitely we will do something again in the future.
Thank you,
Thank
Jamie.
you.
Thank you, and we'll continue to follow
Thank
you.
you, Jamie.
You put
Thank
up
you guys. Thank you.
great content, so we'll continue to follow you.
Thank you guys. Thank you. See you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jamie.
Bye. Abhishek, you want to stay back and stop recording as well?
Sure. Let's just say our goodbyes.
Yeah.
All right, guys. As you can see, this was also a lot of fun. Jamie is up close to cricket in different ways. He has three cricket channels, and he used to do commentary as well. So extremely knowledgeable, passionate about cricket. So it was fun talking to him. And we will definitely take him up on his promise to come back. I'm going to do a cricket quiz, and Anirban has also agreed to come, verbally. So hopefully Anirban and Jamie will be able to join us. Anirban, again, it's more hope. I haven't spoken to him directly about that. I've just mentioned it to him. Hopefully he'll be able to also join us on the quiz. Oh, okay. Hold on just a second. Yeah. So that's something that's going to come up. Again, thanks for all those who have been supporting us, and we'll continue to provide you with more and more interesting content. Also, please subscribe to our channel, watch our videos, and continue to support us. Thank you, guys. Bye.